Alright guys, so now we're going to take a look at the passing plays from this set. And then the first one we're going to go over is the play wide receiver curl. But initially I want to talk about the characteristics of the formation and what is the difference between this and the close flex. So if I come out in, let's just come out in close flex, and I'm coming out in aggressive man coverage defense, your Overstorm Brave. It's a little bit harder to run a slant against this. Now, slants are good against press man coverage, not great against off. That's just a whole other thing we don't want to go into right now. But the reason it's not as good is because the user can cover so many receivers because it's in such a compressed area, right? Also, in man coverage, a lot of times players will run into each other. It can get a little messy. It can mess up your reads. So having a little bit of a spread out look is pretty beneficial, right? So like these guys are all running around, running into each other. It's not as clean of a read as you'd like it to be, right? So that's why we like the iForm Z close. So I'm going to call the play wide receiver curl. And also I can't run curls from that set either. We talked about curls in some of our previous game plans, but curls are very good against man coverage, especially when they shade over the top. So we're going to come out in Overstorm Brave, and I'm going to go ahead and we'll just use this guy. Now, this is much better of a look than the close flex, because now what I have is I have some spacing over here on this left side, so I can slant this guy. And the reason we're using Tyreek Hill is because on this guy I typically have short out elite. You don't necessarily need to in order to win with a slant. I've been tinkering between short out elite and deep out elite, or not deep out, mid out elite, because I do have outside apprentice on this guy, so I like this route. That's just something we're going to go into in a later video, but quickly the slant. Boom. Okay, if they're shading over the top, there's going to be no press. So you'll be able to hit that a little bit earlier. Now, what are the other reads in this play? Pretty straightforward. As far as the slant, you can leave the curl route there. This out route, okay, this is short in elite on Justin Jefferson. You'll notice that as soon as he breaks, he gets really good separation. That's against Jalen Ramsey, right? So that's not against a slouch corner. Now, this is one of the few speed outs in the game that actually gets separation like the old speed outs used to get. If you've been playing the game for a while, Strong Close used to have a speed out, but they made it a little bit deeper in the cut, not as aggressive, so it kind of made it useless. This one's pretty good. Now, you can motion snap this, but from what I've seen, there's times where the corner ends up playing underneath coverage because you motion snap it, and then it makes it a little bit worse. So it's actually not bad right there. It just depends. Like I actually typically will not motion snap it. And I'll just leave it normal. This play is just really good stock against a press man coverage, right? This tight end route still wins over the middle. I actually have tight end apprentice, so if you have tight end apprentice, I like this tight end route a little bit better because it gets a little more separation and it develops a little bit more quickly. But if you don't have tight end apprentice, you can still throw this route. And as soon as he cuts, boom. Just know that, with your man coverage, the way man coverage works in this game is if this guy, so this safety, if his guy doesn't go out on a route, then he will drop back into zone coverage. So just be aware of that. Now, what you can do also, what I'll do is I'll switch it up. A lot of people will end up playing underneath coverage. I'll streak my outside guy, and this guy is typically my fastest, highest release guy, right? So if they're going to shade underneath to try to take away my other routes, then that's Tyreek Hill. Not the greatest throw right there by me, but he's going to cook. He's definitely going to cook if they shade underneath. If they're playing off man, right? That's where the curl route can come into play. Or if they're shading over the top, curl route's very simple to throw. I want you guys to make sure that you use possession catch, because the KOs will affect that as well if they don't. If they have outside KOs right there, whatever the short out KO, whatever the meta is. So that's pretty much his passing play. Now, if you want, you can get creative with the running backs. What you can do is in a nickel alignment like this, you can have something like this where go ahead and press. You can snap throw to the halfback. And sometimes you get that little chip where they kind of, one guy blocks two people. But then that's a dead giveaway that it's a pass, right? If you're motioning your halfback out there, it's a dead giveaway that's a pass, and they're going to pass commit. Just note in this formation, you cannot motion this fullback all the way out. He offsets, like we're in strong close, on either side, right? You cannot do that. Motioning out to the right is impossible with the halfback. You can only motion to the left. Okay? Now you can motion this receiver to the inside. You do something like this. Don't love this because again, the whole purpose of this formation is really to create different types of spacing, right? This route here attacks the short flat to the right. This attacks the middle. This attacks the outside. And then we can have anything in between with the halfback and the fullback. So I like the spacing of this formation just in general. Now, against zone coverage, there's a couple things we can do, right? If you have, say they're in a cover 3 sky, and we're in our wide receiver curl, two things I like to do. One, I will throw this out route until they adjust to the left receiver. I will throw it and throw it and throw it and throw it and throw it until they start to either play man coverage, play cover 2, or motion that guy out. Same deal with over here. You can motion. This is where the motion for this route comes into play. It just sits in that nice little area against zone. So the short flat is really easy to attack with this play. They're going to end up going to probably a cover 2, right? So if they go to a cover 2, just know you cannot throw this out route. You cannot throw this speed out route. You're going to have to change into a different play. Now, what you can do, if it's cover 2 and, clock's running down, you're having, some time issues, you can just wheel the fullback. And actually, that was cover 3, but it works the same way generally with zones. They play back, and then that fullback route will, sit underneath the zone really well. So this is cover 2. You'd have to be careful because this guy will run into his own player sometime. That's just kind of how Madden is. But something really simple like that. And if you have a pretty good athlete at fullback right there, then that's definitely worth dumping it down and trying to get some extra yards. So that's how I would attack zone coverage in this specific play. This is not the play we use to attack downfield. This is the short, intermediate passing game, that annoying passing game that's really going to make our opponents have to adjust, and then we can really open up the deeper routes downfield.